mamwe maria tukuhaririirie Inoro hwaini
marutire sakiura thukuru ikihingo makionia ati aciari riu ni makuongererwo murigo wa ciringi 9,374.
We cannot assume that every parent can afford to pay the 9,000 shillings if we have reduced capitation.
Ndi Nyoro gukirira thirikari akiuga irenda kwambatĩria bithi ya thukuru cia mũingĩ.
O mĩcemanio atongoria meritwo mamurume na kumugucokia matoro-ini. Ni ndirona horo ucio turatwara bururi witu na mbere.
President wa kana Uhuru Kenyatta guteterwo ni Matiang'i na Ndindi. Na athuri a kiama kia makuria thirikari kurunga githomo. Amukira ngeithi cia komorori wa ceceni ya Inoro TV haria hothe uratwa mukira uri thiini wa guku bururi wa Kenya ona ja wa itoka cia bururi umuthi ari tariki 31 ririkana ni muthenya wa mwisho wa mwaka wa 2025 na riu turorete o mathaa manini nigetha tukorwo tukiingira mwaka mweru wa 2026 ngunyite ogeni mohoro-ini maitu ma Inoro TV ona kuri ona mabura kuri ona maria tugikuhaririirie maria makoretwo magithi na mbere ni ritwa riakwa njitagwo Ikuwa wa Boshi na mwathiriri na njira ya ciiko nake etagwo Liz Wangari. Na tukiambiriria bunge cia county ni imwe cia itugi cia bata hari ukuria wa thirikari cia matura kugerera kuhitukia mawatho na kurunga thirikari cia county. Mwandiki witu wa Kiambu niwe Charles Gikuga wa Kariuki ni agite na giikaro na speaker wa bunge ya Kiambu Charles Thiongo na kumurika mamwe ma mawatho maria mahitukitie mwaka uyu na wira uria uri mbere ya bunge ino mwaka ukite riri uteti wehiriirie county-ini ino.
Njitagwo wakiri Charles Thiongo, speaker wa bunge ya Kiambu. Mwaka ucio wainikirira wa mwaka wa 2025 ni ukoretwo na maundu maingi ithu twita bunge he matashukia maigano na maria tuhotete gutashukia maguthondeka mawatho maria makoretwo magiteithiriria thirikari ya Kiambu gukorwo gika maundu maria koretwo gika na ingiciria hihi watho uria munene muno uria turahitukiria wa bata ni watho twitaga Community Health Promoters Bill kana horo wa andu aya makoragwo magitangikira andu kuria matura-ini na horo wa kumarora tondu matirari na framework kana watho wa kurora no uria mangiheo kindu gitagwo stipend kana kuheo tubesha turia twa kumabacirira kuruta wira wao o hamwe na maundu maingi muno. So njuge twita bunge ni tuhitukitie mawatho maingi muno tariria watho ucio witagwo Community Health Promoters Bill ucio ni watho wa mbere. Wa keri ni turaruria horo wa watho wa migunda kana njoherera marihi maria marihagio tiri tugiuka tugika kindu kiria gitagwo exemption kwehereria horo wa rating kwi migunda iria ikuria matura-ini kana iria twitaga freehold na ni ndereti ya nene muno no ithu ni twarutire wira uria twagiriire mawatho ni maingi muno tuhitukitie ona horo wa gukorwo ati ni tuhitukitie finance bill ni ithu twari mbere kuhitukia finance bill bururi wothe wa Kenya na gutire ndururu na imwe tuongereire. In fact ithu twita bunge ni twite tondu turagwithirie marihi maingi muno maria makoretwo meho through the finance bill ona budget no tukamehitukia ni njeni mukoretwo mukirumirira tugathondeka budget njegere irabaciriro maundu mothi wa na mbere. So ni no njuge bunge no ya gatatu ino turi ni rutete wira ne karuta wira na njira nene muno no hoe ona wananchi tumekure matura-ini reke tutwike kunyitirira jumbe itu kana members of county assembly nigetha turute wira ithi hoka una tutikoretwo na ngui na ngahiha wa keri ona tukahotithia thirikari kuruta wira na njokerie ajumbe gwenda gucokeria MCAs othe a Kiambu ngatho tondu ni metikiririe rimwe na no wega gukiuga tutikiguithanagia mahinda mothe na governor kana ruhonge ruria rutongoragio ni governor no tugire ona kwina thina tukaunanira njungwa handu ha kurehe bara zito king'ang'a-ini tugaikara haria thingira tugacira haria hekwenda guthondekwo no cio ni ugima uria ona ingienda kuhoya wananchi itu itokorwo hiyo na he maundu maria tutahotete kuhingia na no turageria no tungimakirwo ni no ngwire itari na nganja twina gicunji makiria kia 80% uritini witu wa wira
na hii ni kigikiru kithiini wa your intre ya mwaka wa 2026 hari aikari ya Kiambu
mwaka wa 2026 turaingira tutanathie urutha rwitu ni turatigire twa commit kana twatuma mawatho mugwanja ma kamiti-ini iria tukoragwo nacio na no nyende kugweta na ihenya wa mbere ni watho uria tureta the sanitary towels provisions bill kana watho wa kuga uhoro wa tauro cio theri twina watho ungi turarehire wa gutangikira miaki kana kindu gitagwo fire prevention bill ni tuonete ya tukoretwo tuna miaki muingi tugie na coordination kana na njira njega ya gukorwo ni turatangikira uhoro wa kurwa kana gutangikira miaki hindi iria umira twina uhoro wa investment bill the Kiambu County investment bill wa mbere ni yakuguciriria onjoria matuike ya guka na taru ongerora taru hena undu munene muno twikite ikuria itura ria Githunguri kuria nyumite kwina kindu gitagwo county aggregation and industrial park iria ni kunyitanira kwa thirikari ya county na thirikari nene no iguru woguo ithu twi thirikari ya county tutongoretio ni governor turaugire ni tukwenda andu akuria Githunguri tondu nikuo urimi ukoragwo wi iguru muno urimi wa iria tutuike twina mutaratara wa kuguciriria aigithia moke maigithie na kiganda gia guthondeka irio cia ng'ombe iyo niguo riu watho turathondeka uretwo the Kiambu County investment bill na no tureciria no ndungi turarua naguo muno kuria county aggregation yarika ni turenda kugena kindu gitagwo special economic zone na ni turenda Waruhiu county aggregation and industrial park ituike special economic zone wa mbere ni gukoragwo kwina magoti magwithagwithitio makuguciriria aigithia uguo ni tureciria ni tukugia na aigithia industries ngurani oko ni uhoro wa irio oko ni uhoro wa maundu maria mangi na ni twaritie na andu igana ta riu nie ni thiete tukaraniria na aigithia akuma bururi wa Turkey hena angi twaritie kuma bururi wa Italy makauga mangienda mutaratara mwega uria ungihota kumaguciriria so tugithie na mbere ni tureciria mwaka wa 2026 ni tukurikiria mawatho mau wa keri hena project iria ikoretwo igithie na mbere ongerera tau ni tukoretwo twina mutaratara wa guthondeka thoko throughout the county ni tureciria thoko icio ni tugucirikiria kwina ngina uhoro wa ku improve sport facilities ni muronia muthenya uria ungi turari handu he gwitwo ndia turahingura kiharo kiega muno so ni ndireciria mwaka wa 2026 ni gukorwo wi wa gututeithia kurikiria no wega gukiuga tureciria siasa ni kwambiriria no before siasa ikwambiriria tondu ithuĩ twihithiire wira-ini ithuĩ turiuga twambe turikie wira before andu mekwambia gutitimurana na wega gutitimurana kuu guoka ona ithuĩ turi ho no wega gukigweta gutikire handu tugithiite ithuĩ andu akuria Githunguri no turacira nao uguo hindi yakinya mundu wa gucira wake ni tugucira no muno wa bata wira mbere
na tugetiga na riboti iyo ni ati mubunge wa Kiharu Ndindi Nyoro oritie thirikari guteaniria marihi ma bithi maria mongereirwo arutwo thukuru-ini cia secondary cia kuinukwo gugikinyeria Jumatatu kiumia giukite. Nyoro ahithuritie thirikari ni inyihitie kigina kiria arutwo magayagirwo kuma ciringi 22,000 nginyagia ciringi 12,000 aciari makiendwo kuongerera ciringi 9,000 na tauria mwandiki witu Mwangi wa Maina aratariria ona minister wa tene wa githomo Fred Matiang'i ni areganite na nyongerera ya bithi.
Wafishine yake mushine wa Nairobi ni kwa mubunge wa Kiharu Ndindi Nyoro ahithuritie thirikari ni irikitie kuongerera bithi ya thukuru cia secondary cia kuinukwo kwambiriria tamu ya mbere mwaka uyu turambika wa 2026.
Okay, we start.
Nyoro oigite ikinya riri ria thirikari ria kuhingiriria arutwo aingi mathukuru-ini thutha wa thirikari kunyihia kigina kiria o murutwo agayagirwo na ciringi 10,000 aciari makiendwo kuongerera ciringi 9,300.
Marutire sakiura thukuru ikihingo makionia ati aciari riu ni makuongererwo murigo wa ciringi 9,374 aciana iria cie thiini wa day schools.
Gukiri uguo Ndindi ni arutire thirikari mukana akienda ikinya riri riteanirio orio gukinyeria Jumatatu ya kiumia giukite na kwaya uguo aciari maya gutashukia makinya maruru maria matangiciririo
na ni ngwenda tumorie by thukuru ikihingurwo matumire principles aito sakiura kana marwa makweheria uhoro ucio wa kwenda guthukia githomo kia buri tondu ni gikuthukiria ciana nyingi muno maica mao na iroto ciao thiini wa githomo.
Akiorota President William Ruto na ururu muingi Nyoro oigite a Kenya matigwitikira matunda ma President wa gatatu Mwai wa Kibaki makurehe githomo gia tuhu marangiririo.
Na koguo gikorwo thirikari ni kugeria rageragia mamenye mubango ucio ndukuruta wira tondu tutigwitikira Kenya uria andu aria angi mathomire na githomo kia bure kana gitari kia marihi. Tutigwitikira mutongoria ona umwe athake na uhoro ucio na ambiririe guthukangia githomo kiria kiarehirwo ni President Mwai Kibaki.
Nyoro oigite thirikari ikoretwo kihenia aciari bithi nyongerere indi arutani anene thukuru-ini cia secondary cia kuinukwo ni mareketie kuongerera ciringi 9,000 itari-ini ria bithi iria aciari magireirwo ni kuriha.
What the government is saying in words, let them put in writing and say to our principals. Let them send a circular by Monday. Whatever they are saying in Nairobi in conferences, let them officiate it by putting it in a letterhead and sending an email to our institutions. Then from there, that will be an instruction. The same way they sent this in writing, let them also send the other circular in writing.
Miario ya Nyoro ni nyititwo mbaru ni minister wa tene wa githomo Fred Matiang'i uria ugite arutwo aingi maya guikara micii thutha wa aciari kuremererwo ni murigo wa bithi.
As I've said elsewhere in other platforms, that we are going to have huge numbers of school dropouts because we cannot assume that every parent can afford to pay the 9,000 shillings if we have reduced capitation for the secondary schools.
Indi oyo Nyoro ni atetetie mutaratara uria urahuthikire kugayania arutwo mathukuru-ini akiuga uri na muthutukanio muingi na gutire hindi mutaratara wa kugaira kaunti besha ungihuthika kuoya arutwo mathukuru-ini.
Unajua katika mashule hizi zote kubwa kama national schools, extra county, on the school placement ile ya kwenda kwa shule, they usually take care of the local community. For example, in Kiharu there are many big schools, just as in there are in other counties. And what they do, if there is a national school, for example, in Mombasa County, they give a certain quota to the people of around that area. That didn't happen.
Oho Nyoro ni orotete ministry ya githomo akiuga gutiri undu wihariirie arutwo a CBE magikinyukia ikinya riu ringi na kuingira gikiro-ini gia senior school grade-ini ya 10.
Ndauga guo tondu ni ngoretwo ngiaraniria na arutani aingi na ngamenya hari heko training ya arutani ndekirwo ria yagiriire yetagwo retraining kana retooling na tukona equipment iria ciagiriire tugithie mufumo uyu mweru thukuru itihotete gukorwo ihetwo.
Hamwe na uguo Nyoro ateterithitie gutire na gitumi o giothe gia thirikari kwaga kwandika arutani a junior school wira wa mushara thutha wa kuruta wira wa kandarathi kwa makiria ya mwaka umwe. Ngiribotera Inooro TV, retwa riakwa ni Mwangi wa Maina.
Ngatho Mwangi wa Maina ni undu wa riboti yo na turi hau ciigie githomo ni ati mwerekera uria warutirwo ni ministry ya githomo mweri wa 11 mwaka 2025 wigie githomo gia thukuru cia senior ugite aciari aria mari na arutwo thukuru ciothe cia gukomwo marihe bithi ya ciringi 53,000 nao arutwo a thukuru cia kuinukwo marihirwo ciringi 9,000. Marihi maya maria ni kuringana na ngatheti ya thirikari ya mwaka ya namba 1555 ya mwaka wa 2015 mareheria mubango uria warutitwo na ukauga muruto arihagirwo ciringi 22,000 cia secondary na thirikari na kuongerereka kigina kiria muciari arariha. Wangui wa Mwangi niwe uri na uhoro uyu makiria.
Mutaratara-ini wa kinyanĩria wa githomo gia thukuru cia senior kuri arutwo aria maraingira grade ya 10 uria warekereirio ni ministry ya githomo mweri-ini wa 11 mwaka uyu wa 2025 niguo heanite mwerekera wa marihi ma bithi kuringana na notithi ya ngatheti ya thirikari iria yacabithitio mwaka-ini wa 2015. Notithi ino namba 1555 igananitie arutwo othe thukuru-ini cia gukomwo ta magego makigathikirwo bithi ya ciringi 66,000 muciari akibatara kuriha ciringi 53,000 hari mbeca ici, nayo thirikari igatigirwo ciringi 12,870. Thukuru-ini cia kuinukwo nakuo muruto ekereirwo bithi ya ciringi 22,244, muciari akibatarwo arihe ciringi 9,374, nayo thirikari irihe ciringi 12,870. Thukuru-ini cia githomo kia mwanya nakuo bithi igathikitwo iri ciringi 69,000 na 810, muciari agitigirwo ciringi 37,200 na 210, nayo thirikari irihe ciringi 32,000 na 600.
Ile capitation ambayo serikali tunatoa 22,000 kwa kila mwanafunzi, tayari serikali tumetoa 44 billion shillings this week to make sure that the transition in January is going to be smooth. There will be resources in our schools. Pesa itakuwa shuleni kabla ya watoto kufika shuleni.
Mubango-ini wa gukinyiriria githomo gia secondary gitari marihi wa mwaka wa 2018 niguo thirikari yongereire mbeca iria yaheaga oro murutwo nginyagia ciringi 22,000 na 244 na rungu rwa mutaratara uyu aciari thukuru-ini cia kuinukwo makiaurwo murigo wa bithi wothe. Gucokerera guku kwa marihi ma bithi kuringana na notithi ino ya 2015 no kurateaniria uhoro wa marihi ma bithi kuringana na gikiro gia thukuru. Gerifotera Inoro TV reto kwani wa Ngui wa Mwangi.
Gatho wa Ngui wa Mwangi. Na tugithina mbere ni ati atongoria matiganite ni mateteire president wa kana Uhuru Kenyatta makiuria atongoria kuregoreria maundu ma uthi wa na mbere ithenya-ini ria gwetherera ndeto cia kumuruma. Munini wa mutongoria wa kiama kia Jubilee Fred Matiang'i augite itanya ria Kenyatta ni gutereba kiama kia Jubilee na kurutithania wira na atongoria angi niguo kurehe uiguano bururi-ini. Mwandiki witũ wa mohoro Masi Wadia niwe utuhaririirie riboti ino makiria.
Miario ya kinyururi na gusonora president wa kana wa bururi Uhuru Kenyatta isaine ikubeni yakoretwo kibaru-ini kia uteti kuri gicunje kia atongoria makiuga ni areigirira uteti utabatie undu uria umenereirio ni munini wa kiama kia Jubilee Fred Matiang'i akiuga ino ni miario itari kiene na ya gucokia bururi na thutha.
Some people want to use retired President Kenyatta as a boogeyman. They're trying to find a way of casting President Kenyatta as the boogeyman. This culture of every time you have a challenge, you must blame someone and you must find someone to complain about. And you always think problems are caused by someone else, not even yourself and your conduct and so on. Let me ask you a very common sense question. What does a retired President Uhuru Kenyatta benefit from interfering on the division in another party? What does he benefit? He's not interested in public office. He has said more than enough times that he has made his contribution. He would now like to work with others.
Matiang'i ugite gutiga wira ta president uguti kugate ndukari cioteti agitarire ni maita maingi Uhuru Kenyatta omirite king'ang'a-ini kuga arongoriirie uthii wa na mbere wa bururi na kiama kia Jubilee o undu umwe na kurutithania wira na atongoria niguo gucokaniriria urumwe wa Akenya.
You know, anybody who tells you that the president has retired so he should go away from politics essentially is as stupid as it sounds. Because let me ask you a question. You have looked at democratic practice around the world. When the party conventions begin in the United States of America, that is the example that we all look up to. You have seen President Obama going out there campaigning for people and so on and so forth. You will retire from office, but you have a role to play in your party, and you continue to play your role in the party. And in playing your role, you have not broken any law. Tell me the law that he has broken.
Miarieno ikinyitwo baru ni mubunge wa Kiharo Ndindi Nyoro oritie atongoria augutia president wa tene na kunira kanua ithigi amu onao ni makabatara gutio matiga wira.
Nigwenda kuria atongoria othe mutongoria wothe wi gite-ini is a future former leader onake no akaritaya na koguo njurie na gitio atongoria othe tutigage o hingo ciothe President Uhuru Kenyatta ahaya gona atongoria aria ngemerwo thii mumurume kibarua kiu ni kiarutirwo na twari thini wa campaign yo hindi wengi campaign yo ndiateithirie bururi ya kuruma atongoria aria angi atongoria ngwenda kumuria na gitio ona ni ndio hotheini leke tuheanage itio aria maikarire ite no mariehera na ni makenda gitio.
Kuringana na Ndindi ugutire mundu ugirete president wa tene kubeana mawoni make uteti amu ni Mukenya o ta uri ungi.
President Uhuru Kenyatta ni arutire wira bururi wa Kenya nginya haria akinyirie na nĩ aritaire maũndũ maya makuonaga orari o mĩcemanio atongoria meritwo mamũrume na kũmũgucokia matoro-inĩ. Niĩ ndirona horo ũcio tũratwara bũrũri witũ na mbere. Tũhe atongoria othe gĩtĩo, tondũ na mũtongoria ritaya no Mũkenya arĩ na haki ya kũhuhia rĩera rĩa Kenya, arĩ na haki ya kwaria maũndũ marĩa marathiĩ na mbere bũrũri-inĩ. Nĩ tũtigie ũhoro ũcio o hingo ciothe kũhĩahĩaga ũrĩa tũkũhaka atongoria arĩa angĩ ndoro, na mũno makĩria tũrĩa tũkoretwo tũkĩona. Batoni ĩhetwo kamwa Kenya atĩ mũndũ athiĩ nginya mũcemanio wa birthday handũ nĩ ta merĩtwo mũndũ aruma Uhuru Kenyatta agatũma video hihi akarĩhwo. Maũndũ macio matirateithia bũrũri.
maya mokĩte rĩrĩ kambĩini cia kwetha iturwa hĩndĩ ya kĩthurano kĩnene kĩa mwaka wa 2027 itanyĩtwo gwakĩrĩria mwaka wa 2026. Ngeribotera Inooro TV, njĩtagwo Masi wa Ndia wa Mũrĩithi.
Nĩ ngatho Masi wa Ndia wa Mũrĩithi, na riboti ya Masi nĩ ĩratũhe kanya ga kwamba gũikĩria o hanini nĩgetha twacokereria tũkorwo na ndũmĩrĩri ingĩ na no ũthi na mbere kwaranĩria ithuĩ kũhĩtũkĩra namba itũ nguhĩ ya 2288 na mĩtambo yothe ya ũkinyanĩria ya Inooro TV nĩguo tũkorwo tũkĩrora ndũmĩrĩri yaku twagĩcokereria.
Back to school season is here, and Citizen Duka is making it easier for every parent. All these essentials and more are available on citizenduka.com, or simply send your shopping list on 07 10 487 487, and let's make your back to school experience a little more easier.
Citizen Duka, the home of discount.
Thigũkũ ya Christmas nĩ ihinda rĩa kũnyitana na gũkũngũĩra twĩ hamwe. Irio ciĩna mũcamo mwega citũmaga bamĩrĩ ikare ikenete. Nĩ ngatho a Kenya nĩ gũtambũra na gũcagũra mũtu wa Raha Premium Kavagara, Raha Premium Ngano na Joy Max Mwĩvoko Flour na gũtũtua na mbemwe bũrũri wĩ wothe. Ngatho cia mwanya ikinyĩre distributors na endia nĩ gũtigĩrĩra atĩ kwĩna raha mĩciĩ-inĩ yothe. Joy Millers Limited nĩ marakwendera Christmas ĩiyũirwo nĩ gĩkeno na mwaka mwerũ wĩna umithio.
Mũrĩega, ithuĩ ta Top Care nĩ tũramũcokeria ngatho nĩ ũndũ wa gũtwarana na ithuĩ mĩaka ĩyo yothe na mũgathiĩ na mbere na gũtwĩhoka. Na nĩ tũramũnyita ũgeni gũkũ gwa Top Care mahinda-inĩ maya ma thigũkũ. Oho nĩ tũkũririkanagia atĩ ũgĩtua matua ma kũgũra mũgũnda gĩa na ũbacĩrĩri mũnene mũno tondũ mbeca icio ciaku ndũcionete na ũhũthũ.
Twĩna mũgũnda tũrakwenderia Juja 595,000 na kuo Joska Kagundo Road nĩ 395,000 na weka booking tũgakũhe shopping voucher ya thigũkũ. Tũcerera Ruiru Town, Greek Towers first floor, kana ũtũhũrĩre thimũ namba 0708 000 999.
Top Care nĩ mũciĩ waku mwĩhokeku wa ũigithia.
Ndũgetekere kũiga mũtũrĩre waku hatĩka-inĩ. Gũkuo nĩ ndereba ũtarĩ na ũigĩrĩrĩki nĩ ũgwati mũnene mũno, na nĩkĩo Petans Driving School and Computer College tũrĩ mũhari wa mbere kũbundithia ũtereva wĩna ũigĩrĩrĩki. Weyandĩkithia Petans ũrabundithio ũtereva o hamwe na plant operator course nĩ qualified instructors mahĩtũkĩtio nĩ NTSA, ũkabundithio road safety skills, first aid training na oho computer packages, tũgatigĩrĩra nĩ watuĩka a competent digital driver wĩna ũigĩrĩrĩki wa bara. Thimũ nĩ 0721 328383.
Tired of late rides and shady charges? Itisha Wigo. Now Wigo, you get more than just a ride. Unapata on-time pickups, gari safi na fresh every time. Ride V-Smart, ride V-Safe, now Wigo. Download the app now, ama SMS Wigo to 20425. Wigo, your trusted ride.
ngatho mwiroreri yo thiete na mbere gutwara na ithuĩ ngũnyite ũgeni o rĩngĩ ikereka-inĩ rĩngĩ rĩrĩa tũragĩthiĩ na mbere na kũmũrĩka tũkĩroraga marĩa tũkĩrĩ namo thĩinĩ wa studio cia Inooro TV na tũgĩthiĩ na mbere. Stephen Kamunya Njoroge araririkanwo ta mũndũ ũrarĩ mwendi andũ ũrerutanĩire ũrĩmi-inĩ na ũrehotete gũtigĩrĩra bũrũri na nyũmba yake nĩ ciĩhandĩte, agĩkũngũĩrwo hĩndĩ ya igongona rĩa kũmũhurũkia itũũra-inĩ rĩa Ng'arua kaunti-inĩ ya Laikipia. Kamunya ũrĩa nĩ ithe wa mũteti Maina Njenga no akenereirwo nĩ itemi rĩrĩa anyitĩte ũkũria-inĩ wa makanitha na itũũra rĩake. Kamau wa Mwangi atinde kĩhurũko-inĩ gĩake na nĩwe ũrĩ na riboti ĩno.
Thutha wa mĩaka igana rĩmwe rĩomwe mũhuro wa riũa, Stephen Kamunya nĩ ahurũkĩtio mũciĩ gwake itũũra-inĩ rĩa Thiria Ng'arua kaunti-inĩ ya Laikipia thutha wake kũhurũka tarĩki 5 mweri ũyũ kũrũmĩrĩra ndwari ya ihinda inini. Igongona-inĩ rĩrĩa rĩgwĩkinyĩtio nĩ makiri ma Shakai, Kamunya ũrĩa nĩ ithe wa mũteti Maina Njenga aririkanĩtwo nĩ itemi rĩrĩa anyitire mbara-inĩ ya kũmathĩra bũrũri wĩyathi kũrĩa aikarire moko-inĩ ma Nyakerũ kwa ihinda rĩa mĩaka 3.
Today I'm a deputy governor of Laikipia County, but because of this man, because of the fight and the love we had for this country, mimi ile devolution na kulia hii leo ni ya mzee. We as leaders, kitu moja tunaweza fanya tu kwa wananchi ni moja tu. Let us just be your true servant.
Kĩo gĩake ũrĩmi-inĩ kwa ihinda rĩa mĩaka 55 ũgĩtũgĩrio nĩ mwaria thutha wa ũrĩa ũngĩ, ũtana wake naguo ũkĩgwetwo gũtĩĩra atĩ nginya arĩa marigainie matirararĩra.
Twamenyanire mwaka 1987 wakati mimi nilikuja hapa na muthuri ũyũ ngoretwo kana ndĩrakoretwo ndĩ ngirigaca wake mĩaka ĩyo yothe akoretwo arĩ gũkũ Laikipia atanathi Kajiado.
Ĩndĩ kĩo gĩake harĩ kũrera na kũrũnga nyũmba yake nĩkuo gũtũgĩrĩtio na njĩra nene, ciana tũcũcũ na tũcũkũrũ twake tũgĩtarĩria itemi rĩrĩa aranyitĩte ũreri-inĩ wao. Nĩ mĩrũgamo ĩkũngũĩrwo nĩ kanitha wa AIPCA ũrĩa ararĩ mũrũmĩrĩri.
You taught us the value of hard work, discipline and unity, not just through words, but through your life. You worked the land with dedication, provided for us with sacrifice, and showed us what responsibility truly means. You believed in family, respect, and perseverance.
You showed us the importance of faith, resilience, and staying grounded no matter the season. You loved your land, your animals, and your family. Watching you work taught us patience and commitment.
You are more than a great-grandfather. You are my teacher, my mentor, and my master in life lessons. You taught me how to be strong even when things were hard, how to face every situation with joy, courage, and wisdom.
Muthe witũ Kamunya ararĩ thĩinĩ wa mabuku mothe ma gũkũ thĩ, na rũgano rwake nĩ rũrauga kũrĩa atũrĩte na kũrĩa arautaga biacara nĩ aramenyekanĩte ũguo.
Hĩndĩ ya kũhurũkio gwake mũingĩ wa kĩrĩma nĩ ũthingatĩtwo kũhĩmbĩria ũrũmwe gatagatĩ kao ta ũrĩa ararĩ mũtugo wa mũtigairĩ ũrĩa watiga thutha ciana 6.
Tũgakiuga Gĩkũyũ, Embu na Meru nĩ tũcokanĩre arĩa marauga atĩ kĩrĩma kĩgayanio maita merĩ merwo kĩrĩma gĩtingĩgaya.
Nĩ nyanĩrĩire kaingĩ na ngoiga Gĩkũyũ tũngĩaga kũnyitana ithuĩ tũtuĩke kĩndũ kĩmwe tũkanyarirwo ta mai ma therũ.
Handũ-inĩ ha Inooro TV kuma Ng'arua kaunti-inĩ ya Laikipia, njĩta Kamau wa Mwangi.
wa Mwangi nĩ ũndũ wa riboti ĩyo, na nĩ tũragĩthiĩ na mbere na gũkũmenyithia maingĩ na marĩa marakĩhanĩka gũkũ bũrũri-inĩ, na ngĩkũririkanio tũgĩthiĩ na mbere mũnini wa mũtongoria wa bũrũri akĩrĩ mwena ũrĩa wa Eldoret na tũgũkorwo tũkĩaranĩria nake. Andĩki a mohoro nĩ marakĩgeria gũbanga nĩgetha tũkorwo tũkĩamũkĩra riboti yake ĩmwe kwa ĩmwe no gĩtagwo Kithure Kindiki nĩgetha tũkĩigue ndũmĩrĩri yake ya mũthia wa mwaka na hihi ya mweri kana mweri mwerũ na mwaka ũgĩũkĩte wa 2026. na ngũririkania tore ngũkwĩrĩte na ũkorwo ũgĩtwandĩkĩra nĩgetha tũkorwo tũkĩaranĩria nawe ndũmĩrĩri-inĩ nguhĩ. No ndagĩka ĩno njĩtĩkĩria tũthiĩ ĩmwe kwa ĩmwe nginya kũrĩa taũni-inĩ ya Eldoret gũkũ nĩ kaunti-inĩ ya Uasin Gishu tũnyitanĩre na mũnini wa President Kithure Kindiki
na kukuombea na kukuambia kwamba Mungu akitujalia sisi ambao umetupatia nafasi kukusaidia katika uendeshaji wa masuala ya kisiasa ya kitaifa tutajaribu kuweka bidii, na mimi nikiwa msaidizi wako mkuu na kuhakikisha kwamba nitaweka bidii ili kurahisisha mzigo ambao wewe unabeba kama kiongozi wa taifa letu la Kenya, ili utusaidie kupiga hatua ambayo imebaki pale mbele. And therefore, Mr. President, I am a grateful Kenyan today, and I am a grateful Deputy President, because I have seen our country make important strides in the last few years, and especially in 2025. With those many remarks, I now want to request that His Excellency the President can come and address us as we proceed with today's program. I request we be upstanding and a round of applause for His Excellency President William Samoei Ruto. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy President. Please, let's take our seats. Kwa nyinyi nyote mliofika hapa siku ya leo, karibuni. Distinguished guests, fellow citizens, I have never looked forward to a new year the way I look forward to 2026. I do not say this lightly. I say it from the place of conviction, born of what we have achieved together, the foundations we have laid, and the certainty that those foundations now allow us finally to reach for our highest ideals as a nation. This has been a year that tested our resolve and our collective purpose, a year that demanded sacrifice and called for unity. As President, I am proud to say that together we rose to the occasion. When I addressed the nation at a time like this last year, I outlined the decisive measures we had taken in 2023 and 2024, not only to stabilize our economy, but also to begin turning it around. I said then that 2025 would be the year when we would start earning the dividends of the hard work we had undertaken together since 2023. And indeed, looking back, this has been the year in which our deliberate choices, sometimes difficult and often demanding, began to pay off. For the first time in a long while, Kenya is not guessing. We are not drifting. We are not gambling. We have set our targets. We have begun the journey. And we now have a clear roadmap to make 2026 a defining year in Kenya's history. Tonight, fellow citizens, this is not just a customary New Year address. It is a moment that calls on all of us to seize the opportunity before us, to walk together as one people, and to complete a journey that has been delayed for far too long. 2026 will be a watershed year in the story of our republic, a turning point in our march from promise to prosperity, a year that future generations will look back on and say, that is when Kenya changed course. We can speak of this moment with confidence because we are not starting from nothing. We are building on a solid foundation already laid. Step by step, we confronted difficulties, carved out opportunities, and laid a strong and formidable base for the future of our country. But the story of 2025 is not merely about numbers and statistics. It is about people, the hustlers, the mama mbogas, the border riders, the farmers, the traders, the entrepreneurs, and the workers whose toil, patience, and sacrifice have begun to yield tangible results. It is the story of ordinary citizens whose lives have quietly changed in very extraordinary ways. Kenyans like Mama Cherusha Mudhoni, whose dream of owning a decent home finally came true. For years, her family lived in a single crowded room, exposed to rain and cold, in dignity and fear, never knowing what tomorrow might bring. In 2025, that chapter of uncertainty ended. She moved into a modern, affordable home with clean water, electricity, a proper toilet, and cooking gas. For the first time, her children have space to study and play. Dignity replaced survival. The foundations we have laid have also enabled millions to access quality health services under our universal health care program. Today, more than 29 million Kenyans are registered under Social Health Authority. Across the country, stories of care, relief, dignity, and support are being told quietly and powerfully by ordinary citizens whose lives have been transformed. Stories like that of Naomi Mutendwa Kilunda, a single mother of 6, who watched her 17-year-old daughter Lydia struggle daily with a severe and abnormal breast overgrowth that caused pain, limited mobility, and emotional distress. After learning about the SHA program through her local assistant chief, Naomi enrolled and registered her children as dependents. Lydia was treated at Kenyatta National Hospital, where SHA fully covered the cost of a specialized corrective surgery amounting to Kenya shillings 168,000, as well as all post-operative follow-ups. No out-of-pocket payments was required. Lydia has since recovered well, regained her confidence and dignity, and is preparing to resume her education in this new year as she joins Form 4. Let me tell you another story. In Kisumu, Christina Wino Onyango, a 41-year-old widow, mother of 5, and a mama mboga, faced a life-threatening diagnosis of stage 2 esophageal cancer. As a registered SHA member contributing 7,000 annually, Christine received comprehensive treatment at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital. SHA covered medical costs exceeding 250,000, including diagnostic tests, specialized surgery, 5 days of intensive care, and inpatient and post-operative management. Her chemotherapy, scheduled to begin on January 15, will also be fully covered. These are not isolated stories. They reflect the experiences millions of other Kenyans have benefited from the outcome of deliberate policy choices. Ladies and gentlemen, for too long, farming was a gamble rather than an investment. Farmers planted and prayed, never certain whether the harvest would even cover their initial costs. That story has changed. With affordable fertilizer, certified seed, and the blessing of rains, Yields have improved significantly. Food production rose significantly. Maize harvests are on course to reach the highest in the history of Kenya. Tea earnings surged. Coffee prices nearly doubled. Sugar production grew as imports fell. Livestock, dairy, leather, and meat exports expanded steadily. We expanded education opportunity through reformed merit-based systems. And we helped nearly 1 million Kenyans access jobs through housing, labor mobility, and the digital economy, with many more opportunities coming in 2026, going into the future. But even as we acknowledge this progress, 2025 was not defined by success alone. It was also a challenging year, one that tested our unity and reminded us
Alafu niende wapi?
But it also imposes responsibilities on citizens and leaders alike to uphold the rule of law, protect life and property, and safeguard peace and stability. Our responsibilities are inseparable. In a thriving democracy, debate and dissent are legitimate and necessary. But our Constitution does not license violence or criminality. Differences we all cherish. Those entrusted with leadership carry a heightened duty to unite, to build rather than to burn. Kenya is bigger than any individual, any office, or any ambition. This republic belongs to all of us. And because it belongs to all of us, we share a duty to protect it. Ladies and gentlemen, as I announced during the State of the Nation address, 2026 marks the moment when our journey to transform Kenya into a first-world economy begins in earnest. What matters now is execution. But to speak honestly about the future, we must begin with the truth about the present. Today, nearly 4 in every 10 Kenyans live below the poverty line. That is more than 20 million of our people. Families working hard, yet struggling to meet their basic needs. While we have undertaken deliberate policy interventions to create employment under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, too many of our young people, especially those entering the job market, still wake up every morning without work to go to. This is the reality we are determined to change. When a nation chooses to organize its economy around work, production, and exports, when it invests deliberately in infrastructure, energy, and skills, and when it finances growth intelligently, not recklessly, something profound happens. Poverty recedes, jobs expand, and dignity rises. This is not theory. History shows us that countries like South Korea, Singapore, and Malaysia made national transformation a deliberate choice. Each organized its economy around work, industry, exports, and skills, investing deliberately in infrastructure and people. Poverty fell, jobs grew, a strong middle class emerged. These countries were not spared hardship. They prevailed despite it. Their success was built on elevated ambition, relentless determination, and sustained action over time. That is the path we have chosen for Kenya. That is the future we are determined to build. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear about our goals. We are committing ourselves to a measurable national mission. Number one, to cut the number of Kenyans living below the poverty line by half, lifting millions into dignity and opportunity. To cut unemployment by half, ensuring that millions of our citizens are productive, they are earning, and they are contributing to their country. And we will do this without crushing taxpayers or without saddling our children with unsustainable debt. That is why in January 2026, we will fully establish and operationalize the National Infrastructure Fund and the Sovereign Wealth Fund, key instruments designed to underpin Kenya's transformation. The National Infrastructure Fund will serve as the central engine for aligning our financial resources with Kenya's development priorities. Through innovative mobilization of domestic resources, strategic modernization of mature public assets, democratization of ownership through capital markets, and the disciplined growing and deployment of national savings, we will unlock large-scale private sector capital while reducing reliance on borrowing and taxation. All proceeds, and I repeat, all proceeds from privatization will be ring-fenced and invested strictly in public infrastructure projects that generate and preserve long-term value. Every shilling invested through this fund will crowd in multiple additional shillings from long-term investors in the private sector. Alongside this, the Sovereign Wealth Fund will for the first time secure intergenerational equity, saving for the future, protecting future generations, and protecting the nation from external shocks and investing in strategically growing national wealth, giving full effect to Article 201 of our Constitution. Together, these two funds will enhance by multiples the financing of Kenya's development agenda and accelerate our bottom-up transformation as we charge forward full steam to economic freedom and a first world economy. Through this framework, 2026 becomes the year of execution at scale. In this new year, we will complete the Talanta Sports Complex, ready to host major international sporting events, including the 2027 AFCON. We will also complete the state-of-the-art Bomas International Convention Center, restoring it as a premier venue for national and international conferences and positioning Kenya as the region's hub for international events. We will accelerate the the tarmacking of the 6,000 kilometers of roads already contracted and underway across the country, including the Rironi-Mau Summit Road, which will be completed and open for traffic by mid-2027. I want to state that we already have resources to undertake the feasibility study to extend that road from Mau Summit through Eldoret to Malaba, and from Mau Summit through Kericho to Kisumu to Malaba. At the same time, we will start the construction of several new highways countrywide, as I did announce in my State of the Nation address. Ladies and gentlemen, in this new year, we will also commence the construction of the Naivasha, Narok, Bomet, Nyamira, Kisumu, Malaba Standard Gauge Railway, creating a modern transport and logistics corridor linking Kenya to East and Central Africa region. Equally, we will launch the Galana Kulalu Dam, whose contract was signed yesterday, and several others as part of the expansion of our irrigation infrastructure across the country, with the ultimate objective of bringing 2.5 million acres of land under irrigation. We will also begin the construction of a modern, world-class airport at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to anchor our nation as the aviation's capital of our region and boost our trade and tourism sectors. I've just given you a list of the things that we will do in 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, changing and transforming a country does not require a miracle. It requires a clear and bold vision and a leadership equal to that vision. The nations that have succeeded were not exceptional by accident. They were deliberate by choice. One bishop, I saw one bishop last week say that if others took 30 years to move to the first world, Kenya will take shorter because we believe in God. Fellow citizens, allow me to address a silent but deadly crisis confronting our nation today. Alcohol and drug abuse has become a clear and present danger to Kenya's health, security, and economic future. 1 in every 6 Kenyans aged between 15 and 65, that is close to 5 million people, are currently using at least one drug or substance of abuse. This is no longer a marginal issue. It is a national emergency. The burden falls heaviest on men and young people. 1 in every 3 Kenyan men in this age group uses drugs or abuses alcohol. Among young adults aged between 25 and 35, our most productive population, 1 in every 5 is affected. Over 1.5 million young Kenyans are being pulled away from opportunity into dependency. Alcohol, and I repeat, alcohol remains the most widely used substance, with more than 3.2 million current users. Initiation often occurs between 16 and 20 years, and in some cases, as early as 7 years, exposing children to lifelong harm before even adulthood begins. Kenya cannot grow. Kenya cannot compete or remain secure when millions are trapped in addiction. This crisis demands decisive national action. Accordingly, going into the new year, the government will confront alcohol and drug abuse as a national development and security emergency. Backed by political will, expanded enforcement capacity, and coordinated action across government. We will establish a strengthened anti-narcotics unit within the Directorate of Criminal Investigations with operational capacity comparable to the Anti-Terrorism Police Unit. Fully resourced with modern surveillance, intelligence, forensics, financial investigation capabilities, the unit will operate as a permanent multi-agency formation, working closely with the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA, the National Intelligence Service, border management agencies, county governments, and international partners. To support this expansion, the unit's strength will be boosted from the current 200 to 700 officers through new recruitment and redeployment, all trained and equipped for national operations against high-level traffickers, financiers, and organized criminal networks. Asset tracing, seizure, and forfeiture will become central to every narcotics and illicit alcohol investigation. The Asset Recovery Agency will be engaged from the point of seizure, and all assets used or acquired through these activities, including cash, vehicles, land, buildings, and businesses, will be treated as proceeds of crime, promptly frozen, prosecuted, forfeited to the state, and redirected to rehabilitation, prevention, and treatment programs. Recognizing these crimes as organized criminal enterprises, I urge the judiciary to consider establishing specialized courts to fast-track cases. And I will be consulting with the Chief Justice on how the executive can support this effort, including resourcing while fully respecting judicial independence. Border security will be strengthened through enhanced capacity for the Border Patrol Unit and the National Police Service, including modern surveillance technologies to monitor movement across our borders. Finally, to safeguard integrity within the security agencies, any government official, including security officers, found culpable of facilitating, protecting, or colluding with drug traffickers or illicit alcohol networks will be prosecuted and dismissed forthwith from service. Fellow citizens, this struggle is deeply personal to me as president and as a parent. No law can replace parental guidance, community values, or early intervention in the lives of our children. As parents, we must choose to be present in the lives of our children. We cannot afford to delegate our children to others. We must guide them, protect them, and intervene early before addiction takes hold. If we fail to act, we fail our children and we fail the next generation. If we rise to this duty, we secure not only their future, but the moral strength and destiny of our nation. And just as we demand responsibility in our homes, we must demand the same at an even higher standard from those entrusted with leadership in our public life. Leaders must lead from the front. I reiterate that 2026 and the years beyond will usher in a period of accountability. Leadership will not be judged not by promises made, but by performance delivered. Not by the exuberance of youth or the longevity of service, but by results and a proven track record. Those entrusted with the privilege of leadership will be held to account for the service they render and the outcomes they deliver to the people, not for the excuses crafted to mask a poverty of ideas or a lack of ambition. The measure of leadership is impact, and that standard will apply to all. Happy New Year 2026. May God bless you all. May God bless Kenya. And I thank you for your attention. Asanteni sana.
Ocio akiri president wa bũrũri niwe wagikorwo akirekereria ndomereri yake President William Ruto, na hau kabere akinyitwo ugeni ni munini wake Professor Kithure Kindiki marakirekereria ndomereri kuma kaunti-ini ya Uasin Gishu, ino ni tauni-ini ya Eldoret, na ginyaragia na hau twabe tuikirio hanini iri turacokereria.